what would you say are some tips, that things that you did? This place looks really nice, by the way. Anyway, like, what were some little ways you did to save a bit of money but still make it look the way it looks?
You do a lot of the stuff yourself, really. For example, that wall there with the foliage.
You make it sound quite simple and easy.
I know. Like, when I look around, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't look like it's just like I'm gonna go on eBay for 2 minutes and like, yeah, it looks like. Hey guys, we're here today with Dr. Jo. She's going to be talking to us a bit about this practice. We walked around the practice, an amazing place. So yeah, we'll just get straight into it. We're here with Arnold.
Yeah. Yes, so we are in Wallasey Village Dental Practice. Dr. Jo, thank you for having us on. And I just wanted to ask, can you give us a little feel of what this practice is like? You work with your family. Just give us a little feel of the setup in this practice.
So the practice is obviously run by the family. It's myself and my brother and my husband John are the main dentists here. We have got associates now as well, but it did start off as family run business. It still is, obviously, but we're obviously branching out and getting a little bit bigger and expanding now. But yeah, that's our core sort of value.
And are you an NHS practice, private? What's the mix here?
So we're a mixed practice. We have a small NHS contract, and obviously then we have like a DEM plan, and also private fee per item patients as well. So a good mixture of everything in this practice.
Yeah, and we're talking earlier on. You were saying when you bought it about 5 years ago that you had to do quite a bit of modernizing. Just tell us a little bit about what the practice was like before you took over.
Yeah, so the practice was very dated when we first bought it. The lady that we bought it off, she was retiring, so there was still like paper records, there was a really old reception behind us, and there were like loads and loads of shelves, and they were just full of patients' records, like handwritten records, and when the patient came in, the receptionist would have to go and hunt for the file, and we'd have to like pull out the files, and some of them were like so thick. We'd be like so there was no computers at all, so it was really old-fashioned like that, and we just had to sort of bring it up to date, really.
How did you find, so the staff that were here were used to the paper records, and then you bring this new change, computer systems. How did the staff find that?
I think they were happy about the changes. It needed to be done, and the practice needed to be brought up to date, and it was to make the workday easier, by computerizing everything. You were taking a lot of the manual work out of it, because it would all then be based on a cloud, essentially. And it was easier for us as well, because obviously with it being cloud-based, you could then access from home and, look ahead and things like that. But the modernizing, it's to just make for a more sort of efficient and smooth running practice. So I think the staff were more than happy to be on board with that, and I think they couldn't wait. I did a little stint working here for a few months before I bought the practice, because obviously the lady that we were buying it off, I was on maternity leave at the time, so I was like, oh, can I come and work for you for a little bit, just so that I can get a bit of a feel for the practice and see how you run, and also allowed me to see whether we were obviously quite a fair bit into sort of buying the practice, but would have given me a little bit more reassurance and knowledge of what I was buying, essentially. So that was helpful.
Yeah. Did you have like a patient in mind when you were doing all the work to the practice and that sort of thing?
No, not really. I was kind of like doing it how if I was to put myself in my patient's shoes, how would I want the practice to look and how would I want it to feel? A lot of the time, patients just want the place to be clean, and modern and, calming. I think when you first buy a practice as well, because, money is limited, you have to be quite sort of creative with making the practice look how you want it to look. Because some of the stuff, like modernising the surgeries does cost a lot of money. So we kind of did it gradually. We did one surgery. Well, we did one surgery first. We did the worst one. That chair was like nearly failing. So that one needed to be done. We didn't really have any sort of option but to modernise that one. So that one got done first. So it's like just, pacing yourself and making sure that, it can pay for itself. Don't splurge straight away.
It looks like you were really intentional with how this practice was set up. Because I look at the wall that you've got over there, this wall here, you changing the direction of the chair in your surgery to face the window. You can do 1,000,001 things with a dental practice. How did you come to like that picture of, okay, these are the changes we're going to make initially and then we're going to build from that?
I think a lot of it is like, when you buy an old house and you have to live in it a little bit first to see how it works and to find out like the flow of the house. And it's very much the same with a practice. We started working here and you soon get to know sort of what you don't like and what you do like, and and then you can improve on the things that you don't like, and change it, to make it better. And I would say it's similar to that.
And what would you say are some tips, things that you did? This place looks really nice, by the way. Anyway, like, what were some little ways you did to save a bit of money but still make it look the way it looks?
So we did a lot. You do a lot of the stuff yourself, really. Obviously, like the decorating, you do yourself, and the stuff, like, for example, that wall there with the foliage and the flowers, you just source that yourself, off Amazon or eBay or whatever. So you try and obviously save where you can, but just try and make it a little bit more appealing, a little bit more comfortable, and to sort of help your patients feel a little bit more at home.
You make it sound quite simple and easy, but
this doesn't look like I'm gonna go on eBay.
Google.
It looks like you got an interior designer.
I think what it is it's whatever you enjoy doing and your passion. One of the things that I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I like things to look nice. I've always had an interest in art. Always had an interest a little bit in interior design. So I'm not a professional interior designer, but I know what I like and I know what looks nice. And it's so easy now, with like the internet, like you can go on Pinterest and you can have a look at other people's surgeries and you can be like, well, that's really nice. I'm going to do something similar to that, but not with that budget. I'm going to try and get something similar for a lot cheaper. And then it's scouring the internet, for something that looks similar to that. And then obviously trying to replicate that look within your practice, sort of thing. So things like that, like the green, it's just a nice green colour. And using that sort of throughout the surgery. So our scrubs are that colour, the nurses' scrubs are that colour, the doors are that colour. During COVID, when we had to close, do you remember, for that period of time, right at the beginning, we still had to have like some staff here to obviously man the phones and stuff. But, you know, when we weren't doing that, we were painting the doors in this lovely green colour. So, and painting the walls and, you know, decorating. So it's always, to begin with, you do have to put a lot of the hard work in yourself. But that's like with everything, you know, you have to put the hard work in to see the changes.
Yeah, and when it comes to like even just patients, so obviously this place is amazing, people come in and like it. What were some of the things that you started to do to like attract, you know, patients to come in?
I think a lot of it is word of mouth usually. So if you treat your patients well, you know, word of mouth is usually like one of the strongest ways of getting patients to come and see you. And it's always nice when, you know, someone comes in and they're like, oh, I was recommended by such and such. And that always works really well. So you've just got to treat your patients, you know, I always say treat the patients like you would treat your own family. And if you do that right, then the patients will usually, you know, come.
The practice looks like it's easy to find. I mean, whilst we're recording, somebody came through the door, you know, wanting to find out, you know, what dental services you offer. I mean, was that something that you thought about when you were placing the practice, that it's got to be easy to locate as a patient?
I think location is always important, isn't it? And, you know, what this place has going for it is that obviously it's got a big shop front, you know, and not all practices have that. It is in a row of shops, so it is very, very visual, isn't it? You know, people drive past it and they see it. People go to the shops, you know, or the chip shop even, or the newsagents, and they'll walk past it and they'll see it. So somewhere that has good footfall is always a bonus, because people will just walk in and inquire. But I think we're also very close to a train station as well, and that makes it easy for people to come and see us. And then it's like the parking, you know, just things like that I think do help.
I was looking at the area on a map and I saw the beach as well. Is that a big attraction in the area?
I think because we're on the Wirral, it's quite coastal, you know, all the way around, really. I don't know if people do come, you know, to visit the beaches and stuff. We do have some nice beaches on the Wirral. I don't think that's, you know, necessarily how they come to find us as a practice. I suppose where we are, you know, most of the people that come to see us are local people, you know, in this village, in this community. People always like to stay quite close to home and it's convenient for them. So I would say focus on where you are first, you know, reaching out to the people that live around the location of your practice, you know, and then branch out, you know, after that.
Brilliant. And so how does it work? Let's say, you know, I've just wondered, walking down the street, see a practice, oh, that looks interesting, I want to become a patient. How does it normally take us through like a bit of the system that a patient will go through to become a patient here?
So they normally come in and inquire, or they can go online and fill out a form, and then the receptionist will just work through the forms and answer those inquiries. What do you... I don't know what you mean.
No, so just like basically what I'm talking about is just like kind of like the flow that they would go through. So whether it's like they make an inquiry, like you said, they'll fill in a form, and then I'm assuming the receptionist will give them a call and talk to them about it. They might come in for a consultation, and then after the consultation they'll either, I think, go away, or you send them some information and then they'll come back in for the next appointment or whatever else. Just that kind of like flow that they will go through type thing.
So they'll speak to reception first, either face to face or on the phone, and then the receptionist will determine, you know, what it is that they want to achieve, or, you know, what it is that we can do to help them. And then that obviously directs them to which avenue of dentistry that, you know, they're most interested in, be it obviously general, cosmetic, or, you know, an implant, say, for example. And then usually, so say, for example, if it's cosmetic, then they will speak to, we direct the patient to see the TCO first. So then the TCO will obviously, it's a bit more relaxed, you know, it's not a dentist, it's not as formal. So they usually open up to the TCO and they'll say, you know, what it is that's bothering them about their smile, you know, what they hope to achieve. And then obviously the TCO can give them lots of information about what, you know, options are available, discuss, you know, finance, you know, what their budget is and stuff, and be able to advise them a little bit more. And it's only once they've, you know, decided really sort of roughly where they want, what they want to do, that's when they then get booked in with the dentist. The dentist that has a special interest in cosmetic dentistry, say, for example, so that would be me. Or, you know, if they want to replace that missing tooth, then they obviously get booked in with John then. But if it's just general dentistry, then, you know, they can book in directly with the dentist, and sort of just do it the normal way, really.
So the TCO, the treatment coordinator role, I found that in different practices it means different things. How did you form, how did you decide what a TCO would mean to this practice? So the role that your TCO carries out, how did you decide that role?
I think it's to help the patients decide what treatments they want, because sometimes they think they want a treatment, a certain treatment, but it's not always suitable, or they haven't got the budget for it, you know, things like that. It's sort of filtering that out a little bit before booking them in, obviously, with the dentist, because obviously as a dentist your time is valuable. And also sometimes, like, patients don't want to pay to see the dentist. They just want a free chat, you know. So I think it works quite well.
Did you have someone internal become TCO, or did you have, you know, an external recruitment process for that?
I think it's definitely internal. It tends to be people that you work closely with. You know, so say, for example, my nurses that I work with, they'll know what I'm going to say before I even say it. You know, it's not like you have a script, but you tend to say the same things over and over and over again, don't you? And they pick that up very, very quickly. And so, you know, if I wanted to talk about Invisalign, they know what I'm going to say already before I even say it. And they can very easily tell that to a patient. So,
and in terms of things like marketing, so what kind of marketing do you do? Because I know, you know, you've got your TikToks going and those are on point. And what sorts of other things do you do?
So obviously social's quite a big one. You can't really get away from that anymore. And you know, it's about, I think, coming out of your comfort zone for socials, definitely. I think a lot of dentists may be quite introverted and be like, don't want to put myself out there. But definitely about coming out of your comfort zone. I would never have done a TikTok 2 years ago. But, you know, when you actually do it, it's quite good fun. You know, you have a laugh about it. Your nurses laugh about it. And once you've done like 1 or 2, it's like, that'll do. You know, you don't have to do so many takes. You start off wanting it to be perfect, you know, before you release anything. And then once you get more and more comfortable with it, it gets easier, and you're just like, right, that'll do. Just release that. It's fine. And in some ways it's more authentic, you know, because it's not so rehearsed. But yeah, I'd say socials is an important one.
So do you ever use paid? Is it like do you do just organic, or do you do paid socials as well? Or?
Mainly organic. Yeah, mainly organic. I think at some point I might go to sort of paid ads and things like that, but I haven't felt like I've needed to do that yet. I think organic growth is one of the strongest ones, definitely, word of mouth. And
because that was going to be the next thing, because some people might say, oh, people are just wasting their time posting on social media. Have you actually found that it actually does bring in patients, like your social media?
I think it's important. There are multiple avenues, where they come in, and socials is one of them, websites is one of them. Some people use paid ads, that's one of them.
I think what I found is with organic reach is the fact that it might be your current patients, but because they keep seeing your posts, it keeps reminding them of you, and when they're now ready to have maybe cosmetic treatment carried out, you're on their mind, so they then end up ringing up to say, you know what, I wanted to have Invisalign last year, I'm now ready to go for it. So I find that with social, sometimes people are making decisions because you've always stayed on their mind.
Right.
And then they end up coming and having that treatment carried out. So I think sometimes you don't see that direct, I put out a post. And somebody came in.
So sometimes it's like planting the seed. And then obviously sometimes they come back to you. I get that. That's very true.
So as dentists, we're trained as clinicians.
Yes.
But now, you own a practice, you're having to deal with the business side of it, as well as patients and then staff. How did you develop in that area? Because we weren't trained to deal with the business side in dental school.
Right. So running a business is something that running the business of dentistry, it's something that you have to learn in the process. I think it's a really steep learning curve. Like, you can't just, it doesn't matter how many books you read or, how many people you speak to and what you take from, what they tell you. It doesn't prepare you for doing it on your own, because I would say you learn on the job. You're literally thrown in the deep end and you have to learn to swim very, very quickly. Not easy, it's really, really tough. So many ups and downs, being a practice owner. When you on the highs, it's amazing. You get some really good satisfaction, from, wow, I did that and it's doing really well. But then there are always some lows, when you haven't got enough staff, because they're ill or whatever, makes it more stressful for everyone else. And, one of our lows was like COVID. We were like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do now? We were literally like 3 years in, I think. And it was going really well. And we were like, right, we've cracked it. Amazing, we're doing really well. And then COVID happened, and that was a real low, a real sort of blow to how well we were doing, and you had to change direction, and change the way that you're working very quickly to adapt to that. So I think it's constantly evolving. When you want to practice, there's no like set rule on how you should be doing something. You're constantly learning on the job, and it's trying things, and if they don't work then you try something else. Obviously learning off other people is important, because they might be able to say this didn't work for us or this did work for us. But ultimately it's down to you, as the practice owner, you have to steer the ship, and learn on the job, really. Learn on the job.
How do you cope with that though? Do you have any little coping mechanisms? Do you meditate, or is there like any little daily things that you do to just cope with all the different, things coming up from all different angles?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. Like some days, but I think some days it's very lonely and it's quite hard. I do have my brother. My brother is my business partner, but we can both be lonely, you know, at the top. I don't think there's any way that you can cope particularly. It's very stressful. Some days it's like overwhelming, you know, how stressful it is. When it's sad, I don't know, you just got to turn it. I think sometimes it's like you just got to stay strong at the top. And it's when you're low, you're not going to be low forever. And you've just got to remember that. But then you've got to work hard to climb back up again. I think a family would probably be the most important one. Having good support around you, that's probably the most important one, you know, to help you overcome your lows. Having that strong network, some strong support, you know, friends, family.
I was talking to you earlier and you were saying that you're looking to open up next door and have it as an overflow. And one of the questions I was asking you was, you know, how are you going to staff it? And it looks like you've got a lot more staff than this building can really take. And that's a rare thing, I think, in dentistry, with staff recruitment being so difficult. What would you say it is about the environment and the culture you've set up which makes people want to work here?
I think it's about hiring like-minded people. You know, if people share the same sort of values as you and work ethics as you, then it makes the whole working team happier. You know, because you all work together. I think you've got to obviously look after your staff, you know. Again, it comes down to the family thing. You know, I'm always saying, you know, we treat our patients like we would treat our own family, but we also treat our staff like we would treat our own family as well. And so it's about looking after them, making sure that they're happy, you know, nurturing them, encouraging them to grow if they want to grow, you know, or achieve more. But, you know, they're like our family. So if they feel valued and part of the family, then hopefully they're more likely to stay.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Because that's always a big part of anything, isn't it? The people you have around you, because you can't do it all by yourself.
No, exactly.
So you gotta have those people.
You
have to keep them around somehow.
You have to.
Tricky one.
I couldn't tell you, you know, the perfect solution for keeping everyone happy, because like with all families, there'll be fallouts. You know. But I think what I always tell my staff is, like, you spend so much time with each other. You spend more time with each other than you do your family sometimes with your work family. You're going to fall out. But everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, you know, so I'm not perfect. So sometimes you've just got to learn to forgive and let go of that and carry on.
I'm just interested to find out, what would you say is different about you as a principal compared to when you were an associate? What change have you seen in yourself?
I think, what changes have I seen in myself? I think I'm more determined and probably even more ambitious, you know, than I was as an associate. When I was an associate, I just felt like I was coasting. You know, there was nothing particularly that made me want to get out of bed and go to work. It was just a job at the end of the day. And there was no fulfillment, you know, in coasting, really. Sometimes you want to achieve more. And, you know, as an associate, I felt like I had no room to grow because I couldn't do the dentistry that I wanted to do. I couldn't use the materials that I wanted to use. And so associates it's nice being an associate. Some days I do dream of being an associate again because it's easy. You know, you just turn up to work, you go home, you clock off, and you know, if you're content with that, then you know, being an associate is great. But if you want more than that, and you want to have more of a challenge, some people thrive more when they're challenged, you know, when they've got something to aim for, you know, like a goal to reach. I think that's when people can better themselves and improve and get more sort of fulfillment and satisfaction in what they do.
Yeah, no, that's such one thing that we're going to wrap it up soon. I know time's not our friend. One of the things I really wanted to ask was, tell me a bit about Joe outside of dentistry, Joe at home, and what you like.
Oh, so my life is really hectic. I have 4 children, so I have. She's nearly 12 now. I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So I have 4 children, and they certainly keep me really busy. Being a dentist and a practice owner, and having 4 children, like, it's constantly just a juggling act. And some days it's like completely overwhelming, and people ask me how I do it, and I honestly couldn't answer that question. But somehow we always manage, you know. It's not easy, but I enjoy both, you know. So that's why I'm still doing both. I get so much sort of enjoyment out of going to work now and being my own boss and going in the direction that I want to go in, that I enjoy work a lot more than I did as an associate. And it's something that I couldn't give up now because I enjoy it so much. But then at the same time, you know, I try and keep a good work-life balance by trying to, you know, still spend time with my children and family, and it's hard to get the right balance, but you can do it. It's not easy, but you can do it. If you've got the determination to do it, you can do it.
So thank you very much for having us today. I mean, if people want to get in touch, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Do you mean like dentists? Or like, do you mean dentists?
Yeah, dentists, If they just want to maybe ask you about how you did the particular thing with starting up the practice, or, you know, people just want to get in touch and, you know, connect with you, what's the best way? Is it Instagram?
So probably Instagram. My Instagram is Joe is my dentist. That's my own little Instagram on the side of the main one, which is this practice, you know, at Wirral Dentist. But yeah, on Instagram, I think, and you can direct message me and I'll get the messages that way.
Perfect.
Fantastic. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.